Welcome to today's podcast. In today's podcast, I am going to talk about what happens when one dies. Death is a reality of this life. In fact, the end result of living is death. Yet, we do not want to clearly confront this obvious eventuality. I will discuss in this podcast what one should expect or what you should expect when you die. First and foremost, the death of a human being is not like the death of any other living creature. That is because the human being is made out of two distinct parts. One part is what we see, which is referred to as the body. In this part one of a human being is also a consciousness part, which is referred to as the soul in many religions. In addition to this first part, there is a second part which is called the spirit. The spirit part of you is the most important, as we are going to discover later in this podcast. The spirit you is also more dynamic and has a lot of power. Even armies of the world combined cannot vanquish it. The reason for such might is because it cannot die. That's why your government will make sure that you go through a school system that dulls your spiritual power so that you can be overcome and put under their control, and they can do anything they want to do without you knowing it well in advance. But let us leave that for another day. Now, the first part of you, which is the body, is like an earth capsule that was created for you to enable you to live on earth. It did not evolve. It was created by an intelligent being called God. Its purpose is to enable the spirit part of you to exist on this earth. In the Bible, the spirit part of you is called the breath of God. God breathed it into you, and the created part became functional. This is in Genesis chapter 2, verse 7. So it is donated to your body and will one day be taken away. When it is taken away, we on earth say that you are dead. Also, when you have an accident or something happens to your body such that your spirit can no longer reside in it, it goes back to the donor. In order to understand what happens when you die, you must first understand that this donated part is the real you. You know him or her. You are in the inside. Your thoughts and purposes are not known to anyone near you, however close they are to you. This is the real you. Unless you speak out what you are thinking, no technology in the world can know the thoughts and purposes that you have. A certain Hebrew prophet who lived between 655 and 570 AD BC, said that no one can know the heart of man except God. If you read Jeremiah chapter 17 from verse 10, you find that only God knows your thoughts and can reward you based on what is in your heart. Now that is enough introduction. So what happens when you die? Two things will happen. Number one, your body part will be lifeless in a few minutes, and the people left living will bury it or cremate it or do whatever they want with it. Number two, the spirit part of you will be taken to all the places you have visited since birth, and you will be shown all the things you have done. During that time, you will be seeing your lifeless body and all the people handling it or around it. You will also be hearing what they are saying very clearly. The only unfortunate thing is that you will not be able to answer or even do anything about that body. The separation of spirit and body will have occurred. You will then begin a long and very, very fast journey back to the one who donated you, who is God. When you reach your destination, you will have two options as to where to arrive. You will either go to Hades or to paradise. Jesus Christ of Nazareth talked about this in the book of Luke, chapter number 16. He also alluded to the same issue when he mentioned paradise to the repentant thief on the cross. You must be asking now, how is it decided who goes to Hades and who goes to paradise? Let me make certain things clear before I proceed further. When you die, you have no other chance of ever living here on earth in any form whatsoever. You cannot live as another person, you cannot live as an animal, and you cannot live as a spirit. You will require a new body if at all you must live here again. And that new body is never given nor ready until time of the end comes. So, to the world, you remain dead. Having said that, I now come back to the question of how you end up either in Hades or paradise. Now, you define your destination by your actions and choices while still on earth. While on earth, God will group you into two categories. This is because of your decisions. Remember that this you is not the one that people are seeing. The you can either be categorized by God as his own, in which case you end up in paradise. The you I'm talking about here is the spirit you. Or you can be categorized as a lost one, in which case you end up in Hades. You become God's own by believing in his only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, and following his direction through a spirit he will put in you to coexist and direct your own spirit. Many people have heard about some judgment that God will institute to every deed. Have you ever wondered when this judgment will occur? Well, that judgment occurs immediately you die. In the book of Hebrews, chapter 9, verse 27 in the Bible, it states that it is appointed for every man there means human being, once to die, and after death, judgment. The reason you must go to every place you visited and see all the deeds you did before you are en route to God is so that you be a witness for your judgment. In God's judgment, you will be your own witness. According to the Bible, there will be two judgments. The lost ones who don't believe in Jesus Christ will be judged only once. This judgment that occurs immediately is the only judgment. Immediately one dies. That's the only judgment that the lost ones will go through. Those who become God's own will be judged twice. After the first judgment, which everyone goes through, the first one, which happens immediately you die, they will wait in paradise until the end of the age, and then they will be judged before a great white throne, as stated in the book of Revelation, chapter 20. Why is this judgment necessary? By the time you end up in paradise, you are automatically safe from the wrath of God. So why in the world should we be judged again? Now, while you are on earth, you did some things, supposedly good things, which should be judged. Now, they can either be banned because they don't meet the threshold, or they can be rewarded with some crown of victory. This makes it necessary to have the second judgment. Now, I would have discussed more about this, but I think that what I've discussed is already a handful. So my hope is that this helps you to prepare for the eventuality called death. God bless you, and I pray for you to be one of the chosen ones, those that believe in Jesus Christ, so that you end up in paradise and finally in heaven with your Maker, Jehovah. Amen.